I was asked to introduce the keynote speaker for tonight, I was surprised that Mr. Gakwa would ask me, of all people, to introduce such an influential young lady. Our keynote speaker is very ambitious, determined, and motivated. Her ultimate goal is to make a change in Liberia. Originally from Monrovia, Liberia, our speaker spent most of her adolescence in Marietta, Georgia. Growing up, she spent most of her time giving back to her community by being involved in numerous service projects through her church. This passion for service did not stop there. While she was obtaining her bachelor's, she started a community service organization on campus, and their first project was collecting books for schools in her home, Liberia. She loves her country so much that she is always trying to give back. She is your 2010 Miss Liberia, Georgia, and Miss Liberia, USA. She also won the title of Miss West Africa, USA, but relinquished the crown to pursue her dreams of becoming an attorney. She is now a graduate of Indiana University Maurer School of Law and a deputy prosecuting attorney for the Marion County Prosecutor's Office in Indianapolis, Indiana. This tenacious young woman I have been speaking about is none other than my sister. Please join me in welcoming attorney Mahja Zeon.
So tonight, I want to talk to you about recognizing opportunity. One of my favorite speeches was by John F. Kennedy. And in that speech, he talks about a lot of things. But one of my favorite quotes from that speech, he talks about the Chinese language. And President John F. Kennedy states that the Chinese use two brushstrokes to write the word crisis. One brushstroke stands for danger. The other brushstroke stands for opportunity. In a crisis, we must beware of the danger. Beware of the danger, but also recognize the opportunity. Liberia, my home, my love, has been through so many crises. Our current president, in her book, states that Liberia is a conundrum of issues put in a paradox. When I read that in the book, I said, that's so meaningful, a conundrum put in a paradox. That's how we started. But through all the crises that we have been through all the things that we as Liberians have seen, we know how to recognize opportunity. The question is, in recognizing the opportunity, have we seized the opportunity? Because it is one thing to see something, but it's another thing to grab it, hold it, and take advantage of that opportunity. I want to tell you two stories. One story is of a brother and a sister. The second story is of two cousins. We'll start with the second story. Two cousins, one named Junior and one named Chico. Junior and Chico were featured in a magazine article that I recently read. Junior and Chico live in Painesville, Liberia. And the article talks about how Junior plays the Liberian lottery all the time. He is wishing on all of his might to be one of the 50,000 people to be awarded that lottery in the world. He takes his dollar, he drops it in the hat or the bucket, he prays over it, and then he goes back. Sometimes he do it 2-3 times, even though he's not supposed to. His cousin Chico hit the lottery. In 1999, he won the lottery. He came to America. In 2005, he returned back to Liberia. When he came to America, he spent 4 years in prison. 1999 to 2005. What did he do in those 2 years that he wasn't sitting in prison? Not very much. Junior is begging for that opportunity that his cousin wasted. All too often, we have Liberians who come to America begging to win the lottery or begging their mom and pa in Liberia, please bring me to America, please, I want to see America, I want to get an education. And then when we come here, we spend 4 years in prison and then we're back on the boat. Why? We were in crisis, we recognized the danger, he got an opportunity. And what did he do with it? He recognized it, but he did not seize it. Let's go to the first story. The brother and the sister. The brother John, and we'll call the sister Mary. John and Mary were separated from their parents at the start of the war. They lived in the refugee camp. John's and Mary's parents finally found enough money, but they could only afford to send one. Back in that time, it was easier for a boy child to come to America than a girl child. So they sent for John. John said to himself, if I go, will Mary survive? If I go, will Mary have the opportunities that I will have here? He said no. 3 days before it was his time to leave, John ran away from the refugee camp. Nobody could find him. The only option they had, the mom and dad finished spending the money on the ticket, they finished doing everything, all they had was Mary. So Mary came in place of John. Mary had the weight of that sacrifice on her shoulder. She made her mistakes, but at the end of the day, she recognized that there is nothing better than having someone give up so much so you can achieve so little. That is such a heavy burden to hold. Why not achieve more than you could ever imagine? Why not give back to that person who made that sacrifice for you? So Mary did that. She worked hard. She went through school, graduated with honors, went on to become a great attorney. Mary finally got a chance to go back to Liberia and see John, because the sad part is John never came to America. When she finally looked her brother in the eye, she said the only thing that could come to her mind, do you regret it? He looked at her and said, no, because you made me so proud. Now, I changed the name in there, but John is my brother, and I am Mary. I tell that story so often because, not to brag on myself, because I did work really hard, but I tell the story to brag on my brother. Because while he was in Liberia, in the danger, he saw the opportunity and he seized it. John is doing well for himself. He went to the University of Liberia during the Civil War. He graduated from the University of Liberia, and now he works for LILFOC. Now he works for the president, putting together her information technology. That's what he did. So just because you were in Liberia does not mean you can't achieve goals. Just because you were in Liberia does not mean you can't do something with your life. John is not the only story in Liberia. There's more Johns, there's more Marys, there's more Mahjas. But with those three people, there are more juniors. There are more chicos. How do we balance those? How do we do something to make sure that our youth recognize the opportunities and seize them? We do it by respecting where we've come from. We do it by giving back to where we've come from. I talked to John during the Ebola crisis, and I said, "Brother, how are you doing?" And he said, "Mahja, for the first time, I am hopeless." It hurts so much because John is my motivator. When I am struggling, I call him in Liberia, and he pushes me to go forward. And this time he said he's hopeless because Ebola was nothing like a 14-year civil war. He said, "Mahja, when the bullets coming, you can hear them. When Ebola coming, you can't even hear anything. I don't know if I touch my door or if I rub elbows with the wrong person or if someone coughs and then shakes my hand, if I will be the next person." It was a silent war. It's over now, but the effects are still being felt. What are we going to do to make sure that our people are ready for the next crisis? Because it's coming. The only thing we can do is make sure that we seize the opportunity now. Make sure that there's education for our children. Make sure that we have opportunities ready for our children. Make sure that our children are prepared to lead our future. I ask you, I submit to you to take the time to recognize those who are working for Liberia, to recognize those and assist those who have seen the opportunity and are seizing the opportunity for Liberia. I will end with something very close to my heart. When I was a child and I came to America, my mother and father would always sing this song. I can't sing, so please bear with me. When shall I see my home? When shall I see my native land? I will never forget my home. My mother is there. My father is there. When shall I see my home? When shall I see my native land? I shall never forget my home. Do not forget Mama Liberia. The opportunities are there. Some of us are already seizing it. Have you seen the opportunity? And are you prepared to seize the opportunity to make Liberia great? Thank you.